£100,000 upwards, it wouldn't. So between basically everybody, or from the minimum wage up to 100,000.
So when you said we'll make sure that the first £10,000 everybody earns is free of tax, you were wrong.
For the very, very top, the people right at the top.
You didn't mean everybody.
Well, what we're saying is that the tapering of the personal allowance, which starts at 100,000, which the government has introduced, we wouldn't change that.
But details are important in all of this.
They are indeed, yeah.
How much would it cost?
£17 billion.
And how much of that would go to people on the very lowest incomes, up to £10,000?
Can't tell you, because that depends, of course, on how many people are earning between the 6,500, which is the present threshold, and the 10,000.
Absolutely. But your party has made a calculation on this, and it is that about £1.5 billion of the £17 billion would go to people earning up to £10,000 a year. That doesn't seem very much, does it?
You think £1.5 billion is not very much?
Well, out of 17 billion, it's a tiny proportion.
Well, talk about making the best the enemy of the good. £1.5 billion for some of the poorest people in the country, and you're sniffing at that. I think that's a major redistribution.
Your own calculation, someone who's earning £8,000 a year is £300 better off. Someone who's earning £50,000 a year is £700 better off.
Jeremy, I don't know, with respect, what planet you're living on. If you don't think £300 for someone who's on £8,000 is not a big step forward, no.
The question is whether it's fair and whether it's sensible.
Well, of course it's fair to give more money.
It's fair to give someone on £50,000 almost 3 times as much money as someone who's on a very small salary.
It is fair to give everybody who is earning money a serious break so that they don't pay any income tax on the first £10,000 they earn. Of course that is fair. Of course it is. Of course I think it is a good thing that there are £1.5 billion going extra to the people on the lowest pay. Do I apologise for the fact that someone on 18,000, on 20,000, on 25,000 will also benefit? No, of course I don't. Because I think people in that, even in that income category, average incomes are now at about £24,000 in this country. They don't feel very wealthy at the moment. They don't feel very rich. They're paying a lot of very hefty fuel bills, petrol bills and so on, and that £700 back in their pockets would be a significant help to them.
Let's look at the NHS.
Yeah.
Both the Tories and Labour promised to ring-fence spending on the NHS. You don't.
Well, they're not ring-fencing. They're telling you they are, but
they will explain their own policies.
Well, can I
explain yours?
Yeah, I can explain to you why I won't use the word ring-fencing and why I think it's very unwise for anyone to. All parties agree, right, that the pay bill in the public sector will need to be constrained. All parties have policies, we have different policies, but all parties are broadly saying pay's got to be constrained. All parties agree that the public sector pension bill will need to be reduced. That is money which comes from all public services, so nobody in this debate is actually ring-fencing the NHS budget in its totality. What I'm saying is, the easy thing to do is to say we all love the NHS, we're going to pour lots and lots of money into it. I want to judge the NHS not by how much money goes into it, but whether it provides maternity services, A&E services, GP services, which all of us and our families rely on. I think the way to do that is to save money where it's being wasted at the moment in the NHS. We've just heard recently 5,000 new managers employed in the NHS, and yet barely more than 2% increase in the number of nurses.
Is we can't find a single Lib Dem MP who will countenance cuts in their local NHS services.
Every single Liberal Democrat MP is signed up to a manifesto commitment, which we will publish on Wednesday, for instance, to scrap strategic health authorities altogether.
OK. This here is the Liberal Democrat newspaper that circulated in outer southwest London. You recognise this chap here, of course, your Treasury spokesman, Vince Cable, who argues the need for very serious cuts in public spending, who is part of a delegation which says, standing on the steps of number 10 there with his petition, we want to send a strong message to Gordon Brown that we will not allow the government to cut our NHS services. That's happening right across the country with your MPs.
Jeremy, I think you need to draw a distinction. By the way, I'm not sure the viewers can see it, they're talking about Kingston Hospital. I know Kingston Hospital well because my third son was born there in the NHS at Kingston Hospital just over a year ago.
So you also don't want any cuts there?
Jeremy, something has gone seriously wrong. We were employing 5,000 new managers in the NHS over the last year, and a maternity ward, which I saw for myself, which is under enormous demand, is threatened with closure. Something is wrong.
So you ring-fence Kingston Hospital, but not others?
Jeremy, I'm not going to ring-fence bureaucrats and managers. We now have more managers and bureaucrats in the NHS than we have hospital beds. We're spending 12...
So are you with this campaign or not?
Absolutely. I think the only way...
And you're with every other...